Crafty Hope, and I am working on my week 4 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. Now, as I am Crafty Hope, this is my prompt project. Basically, I decided I wanted to build a prompt deck, pulling 3 prompts every week, making a card, and then later in the week making a project with those 3 prompts. So the card itself is made with the prompts that I draw each week, but that just gives me a chance to kind of play around with the prompts and get a few ideas and that kind of thing. And then later in the week, I explore those 3 prompts a little bit more. Later on, once I have my full deck of altered playing cards with 3 prompts on them, I can pull those individually or combine them or however I want to do it, but I'll have a full deck of 52 prompts, and there are 52, not 52 prompts, 52 cards for the 52 weeks in a year. Super long explanation. If you have questions about that, please ask me below. I am happy to help. You are welcome to play along any way you want. I'll have my full list of 156 prompts below. So you can pull your own and make your own prompt deck every week, or make your own prompt card every week for the year. Or you can follow along and use my prompts to make cards, or you could do an art journal page or any kind of thing. I've made jewelry, I've made tags, I've made all kinds of things for my prompt project. I've got a playlist so you can see everything I've done so far for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. And I think that's it. I'm going to tell you this week, week 4, my prompts are feather, watercolor pencils, and mark making. So for feather, I thought I'd push myself a little bit and actually use a feather. I have a jar here that has feathers I've collected. It's several blue jay feathers, and I think there might be a couple chicken feathers in here from when my chickens were little. They're gone now, but I have some of their feathers. So I may use that. I also, rummaging around looking for things, I found this scrap of fabric that has feathers on it. So I've pulled that out. Watercolor pencils, I have 3 different sets of watercolor pencils in here. The Derwent Ink Tints ones, which once they're dry, they are permanent. I have a cheap set of Reeves watercolor pencils, and then an even cheaper set of watercolor pencils from the Dollar Tree. So we'll see what I use. If you're playing along and using these 3 prompts, interpret them. Oh wait, I haven't talked about the last one. The last one is mark making, and that can be done in any kind of way, just as long as you get marks down on your page. So that's probably my favorite prompt. So I'm gonna decided last week I really pushed myself with my shadow box, and I decided that this week I'm going to lay low and just work in an art journal, and I'm just going to do 1 page, and that's it. All right, I'm gonna get started, because if I let myself, I will just keep talking to you. And as much as I like you and like you being here, I need to get this going. All right, y'all, let's see where this goes. I am starting by collaging. The page I decided to work on in this junk journal is just the back of a ledger page, and it's fairly thin, so I knew I needed a bit of collage to kind of bulk it up, because I had a feeling I was going to do some embroidering in here, and I didn't want, not embroidering, but stitching, you know, with some embroidery floss. So I wanted to make sure nothing really tears too much, and so I'm gonna collage. I grabbed my scrap box of papers and whatnot and my Oohoo glue stick and just went to town. You can see I actually added some bigger pieces of paper. Like I said, I just wanted to thicken this up. So I'm kind of, you know, no rhyme or reason really, covering up some of the blank areas. I think there were maybe 2 little areas that did not get collage on them, but I'm trying to spread these pieces out, you know, put at least 2 pieces in different areas on the page, so that, you know, like that piece there is got gesso and coffee on it, and so it's on 2 different areas of the page, so it's not, anyway, it's not really going to matter in the end, because I'm going to cover most of this up, but the collage does peek out. Now, if you've watched me before, you know that collage tends to be one of my first steps when I'm working in an art journal. That kind of gets my hands moving, gets me busy, it gets me over that fear of the blank page hump. So that's kind of why I start with the collage. It's got me in there and working. So now that I've got as much collage as I want in there, I'm going in with some acrylic paint. This, y'all, is some really old, I think it's Claudine Helmuth, maybe? And I can't remember the color, but it's a tan. And I grabbed it because I've had it forever and needed to use it. And it caught my eye, so I thought instead of gessoing it to kind of bring the stuff together, I would put this tan down. And I'm using a really wet paintbrush and some fairly dirty water. But it's okay. I just wanted to get that around on the page to kind of bring all of that collage together. You can see I'm not covering everything. I'm leaving some holes of it. And then I decided, since I've got that tanny brown, to bring in a little bit darker brown with my instant coffee. So I wet that, and y'all, I think I need to add some more coffee in there. I was having a real hard time getting any color up from it, but it's okay. It's fine. I just wanted some darker brown on here, and I love the way that coffee reacts with some of these things. I think those instant coffee crystals may have like something sticky in them, or maybe a sugary aspect to it. I'm not real sure because it always has like a shiny stickiness to it. So it took a little while to dry that because it was super wet, but that's fine. I got it dry, blotted it a little, dried it some more, and now I'm going in with some mark making. And this is just my chunky Papermate pencil, and I'm taking my time. Y'all, this is sped up, and I am really kind of going slow and seeing what marks feel good, and just holding, if y'all say, I'm holding the like eraser portion of that pencil and just moving it around very randomly. So that was a lot of fun, and now I've decided to come in with some more acrylic paint. This, I believe, is a Folkart Yellow Ochre. And again, I'm making some marks. I've got a paintbrush there and making these big dashes, keeping everything you see kind of neutral here. I thought I might bring in that fabric with the feathers on it. I'm going to tell you now, I don't. It ends up being far too bright for where this page winds up. So there is a lot of drying I do in this so that I can add to the layers without messing up the previous layers. So here comes my first of the watercolor pencils. This is the Derwent Ink Tints pencil, and this is just like ink black. Now, I think when I listed my watercolor pencils there, I forgot to mention that I've got several Stabilo All pencils, which are not technically watercolor pencils, but they are water soluble. So I'll be bringing in at least one of those here in a bit. As you can see, for more mark making with my watercolor pencil, I went around just 5 of these yellow dashes. And I wanted the ink color, not even ink. What is it? The watercolor pencil? It is ink tints. I don't know. I wanted the color to run. So I'm adding quite a bit of water to it. It's not really doing what I want, so I'm adding more color to it. And then I'll add more water. And I'm holding my page straight up and down, kind of urging gravity to take hold and pull that water through. But it doesn't, so I will grab my distress sprayer here in just a second and go ahead and just, see, I'm like, come on, y'all. No. So I did grab my distress sprayer there and just spritzed them so it would run. And it doesn't make a huge impact on this page. It was just something I wanted to try. So spraying it did lose my lines, so I do go back in with that watercolor pencil again and go around them. And now I'll dry again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my jar of feathers, and I pull out this one, which is one I found, I think, on the ground outside, probably like a mockingbird feather or something like that. We have a lot of those here. And I decided I wanted to put it on some fabric and pulled out this little bit of a bag. This is some kind of Easter bag thing they had at the Dollar Tree during Easter a couple of years ago. I love the fabric of these bags. Now, there is a bunny picture on one portion of the bag, and this was two-sided, but I've pulled that apart. Anyway, this is just, find fabric where you can, play with different things. Like I said, love this. It rusts. If you do a rust bath or rust dye, this fabric rusts beautifully. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the cheapness of it or the pure cotton of it. I don't know. It's awesome. So I tore that down. I'm moving around the page. There's where I tried to pull in that feather fabric and realized, oh no, it's not going to work. So once I played around a little bit, I grabbed my Americana acrylic paint in Sea Glass. This is a really beautiful light blue-green aqua turquoisey color, and I wanted to make some more marks, but I wanted them kind of exact. I thought about my finger dots that I enjoy doing, but that seemed too big. What I wanted was something a little bit smaller. So I'm using the back of a pencil. Just the eraser on a pencil works fabulous. I've done this before. I haven't done it in a while. It makes a great little stamp. So yeah, I'm making little dots all over here, and I'm just using the paint that's in the lid of my paint. The paint that's in the lid there. Whatever. And I'm getting these dots kind of all over. I kept looking in the viewfinder to kind of see like where needed more dots, needed more pop of that bright blue. And that's where I'm putting these dots down. And I'm trying to make sure that all of them are like complete circles and not incomplete. I wanted full on mark circles. So this page in general got taken over by the mark making. That's a lot of what this is. I'm doing mark making in lots of different ways here, and really just enjoying it. I think for me, that's a lot of what my art journaling is about some of the marks that are in the background that kind of hopefully blend together so that the focal itself will stand out a bit more. So here I decided I needed some more coffee splatter, which I suppose is kind of a mark on a page. It's an unintentional mark because it's random and all of that. It's not something you've done intentionally. I mean, you've done it intentionally, but you don't put the mark exactly where you want it. It goes where it goes. Now here's my Stabilo all in graphite, and I am again circling some of the marks on here. And this time I'm circling the blue ones, that sea glass ones. And I will again come in with a paintbrush and just activate that a little. I'm not even activating all of the circles I made with the graphite, just little bits of it. And for me, I think the graphite doesn't blur the same way that like the Stabilo all black does or some of the other watercolor pencils. It just, kind of wipes it out just a little bit. So I'm coming back to my feather and my fabric here and thinking about it, and decided that that piece of fabric is just too big. I need it just about the same size as the feather so that it's, just a little bit of a backer for it. And here I'm going to decide to bring in some embroidery floss. I've already put this on a needle and tied a knot at the end, and I'm going to stitch on the stem, I guess, of the feather. I don't know what you call that portion of it, but that bottom stemmy portion, and just put 3 stitches over the top of it. Of course, I get a knot here I've got to pull out, and then I'm realizing that that may not even really hold that feather. So I grab my matte gel medium and I'm putting just a little bit on the back of the feather to stick it to the fabric. And then I will finish one more stitch and decide that I like that mark, like the just sideways mark, and that I want to stitch onto my page. It was one of the reasons I chose the page in the junk journal that I did, is because there was nothing on the back of that yet. And so I knew I could stitch into it without messing something on the other side. So once I get a knot here on my feather, which isn't a huge deal, I'm going to glue that down anyway. So I just did a quick knot and kind of put the feather down where I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it, and tie another knot at the end of my fabric. What is that thing? my embroidery floss. And here I'm just going to make some marks, go in through the back. And I probably should have sped this up, y'all, because it takes a little bit. So I'm just going through the back like this and making 3 marks just like I did on where that stem of that feather. So I'm going to go through that, and here I'm going to go ahead and speed this up real quick. And so I've got those 3 there, and I realized, I'm going to need it in a couple more spots. And I was kind of looking for spots that were kind of open and didn't have other marks in them, but really just getting it in there. I mentioned it before, I love the feel of like poking a hole in paper and then pulling that thread through the paper. All right, so I'm going to do this in about 5 spots, put just these 3 little dashes. They're not a huge mark making detail, but they help make the marks that I put on that feather and fabric piece a little more cohesive. And for me, a lot of this is about being cohesive. So I'll get those on there, and then I will grab my matte gel once again. I'm going to tie a knot in the back, and you can see that back page. I'm going to have to either collage over that or put masking tape or something so that I can work on that other page, but that's fine. That's just another accent for another page on another day. All right, so that matte gel I have put down, and I'm going to tell you the matte gel that I end up using on that is what's on the inside lid of my matte gel container, where it's a little bit thicker because it's dried a little bit. That's just, So I wanted to put a word or something down, and I thought I've got these cut out from different things, and I thought maybe I would put one of them in there, but none of them were capturing my attention. So I went to reach for another like page from a large print book or a book page of some kind, and these clippings from Tim Holtz ended up coming up, and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of the same colors and stuff I'm going for. I'll grab that. So I looked at it real quick, and the phrase, if they were let to fly away, which I know is not a complete sentence or sentiment, but something about feathers and fly always get my attention. And so, I decided that's what I needed to put down there. So I stuck it down and knew I needed to accent it because you can see it kind of blends straight in to the background here. And I grabbed this brown color of the Reeves watercolor pencil so I could bring watercolor pencil back into this. I was having trouble getting that to stick onto all that media I had in the background, so I'm going to glue it down a few times. And there. And it was like, there's one more side there. So, and then I'm going to grab that and activate it. And really, once I realize how this is more of a rusty brown than anything else that's on the page. So I was like, oh, well, that doesn't really go with anything. I'm going to have to do something with this to get that color elsewhere on this page. Again, make it cohesive. So I decided to splatter it. So I'm going to rub some there on the paper on my page and splatter it around. I tried dipping the watercolor pencil into I'm putting it into my jar of water and trying to flick it, but it doesn't really flick. So I end up using the paintbrush just to get the color off of that brush. And I think this is the last step for my journal. I thought about doing some other things, and I know I probably didn't use watercolor pencils in the way somebody else would, but I like what I did with it. I used it for some of the mark making. It accented. I did splatter with it. I really do, I need to explore them a little bit more, but I kind of kept it the way I use it. So I think this is a really gorgeous page. I hope you do too. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. If you're going to play along with me, make sure to use that hashtag #CraftyHopePrompt so I can see what gorgeousness you're making. And make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, y'all. Bye.